We have two events in Davao. First, around 9 o'clock, we have the Magnitude 7.4. And then this was followed by another big event also. At around 7 o'clock in the evening, we have a Magnitude 6.8 event. So ngayon, nagtatanong yung mga tao if these two, yung Magnitude 6.8 event is an aftershock of the Magnitude 7.4. Hindi po siya aftershock. It's a separate event. We have a term for that. It's a doublet. These are closely spaced, closely timed events, and they happen almost on the same area, and they have almost the same magnitude. So, ang definition kasi natin ng magnitude ng aftershock rather is that it's one magnitude lower than the main shock. So the main shock natin is magnitude 7.4, and the aftershock that we would expect would just be around 6.4. Now, nagkaroon ng magnitude 6.8, it's a separate event.
Wala na bang malaking aftershocks na hinihintay, o kung nabanggit yung doublet ba yun? Yes. Did I get it right? Baka may triplet.
Yeah, we have a term multiplet. Multiplet. So, but so far, based on the history naman sa dito sa Philippine Trench, this is not the first time that it happened. It happened in 1992. We have a magnitude 7.1, and then another magnitude 7.5 separated only by 26 minutes. And then the most recent, prior to the event yesterday, was in 2023. We have December 2, we have a magnitude 7.4. And then 2 days after, December 4, we have a magnitude 6.8. The same magnitude na na-experience natin ngayon, but yung area would be more on the northern part of the Philippine Trench. This would be around in Surigao. So far, ang aftershocks natin unahin natin yung aftershocks sa Bogo. So right now, as of 8 a.m., nakapagtala na po tayo ng more than 10,000 aftershocks, 10,671 aftershocks sa Bogo earthquake. Ang pinakamataas na aftershock is 5.1. So nakikita naman natin na yung number of aftershocks daily nagpa-follow naman sa expected na number of aftershocks. So yung first day natin, first 24 hours for the Bogo earthquake, ay nasa 1,853. So, para mas mabilis yung computation natin, we just assume that it's 2,000. And ang expected number of aftershocks natin on the 10th day would be 1/10 of the original number of aftershocks on the first day. So, meron tayo first day, 2,000. On the 10th day, which is kahapon, we're supposed to record around 200 aftershocks. Now, yung na-record natin kahapon is 263. So, nagpa-follow pa rin siya doon sa decay pattern. And then on the 100th day, which is 3 months from now, that would be around 20 aftershocks. So, pero karamihan ng maging aftershocks na to would be very, very small, and halos hindi na yun maramdaman ng mga tao. Ang makaramdam lamang ito would be yung mga instrumento natin. Now, for the Davao earthquake, as of 8 a.m. ngayon, nakapagtala po tayo ng 808 aftershocks. So, ang pinakamataas, if we discount yung doublet, which is 6.8, ang pinakamataas would be 5.8. And again, yung decay naman niya, again, on the 10th day, since we already have recorded 808 aftershocks, on the 10th day, most likely mga around 80 aftershocks na lamang yan, 80 to 100 aftershocks. And then on the 100th day, that would be probably around 8 to 10. Or kung may pagbabago man, hindi yan lalayo dun sa mga numbers na yan.
Educate us some more. Inhubang doublet at probable multiplet, sila po ba ay nagmula sa different fault line kumpara dun sa naunang lindol?
It's the same fault. It's the same generator. So yung nangyari kahapon, Nangyari po yan sa Philippine Trench. So again, same source, same area, and closely timed sila, very close to each other in time and in space.
Yung pong nangyaring doublet at yung lakas na yon sa Davao, assuming for the sake of preparation, sa Metro Manila, yung Valley Fault Line o yung iba pang trenches o iba pang fault line na malapit sa Metro Manila, how damaging will it be?
Okay, so again, sabihin na lang natin na, again, kahit yung hindi na mag-doublet, sabihin lang natin magnitude 7.2. Yun yung, which is the expected number, which is the maximum earthquake that can be generated by the West Valley Fault. Again, we expect around 33,000 casualties. And if that's magnitude 7.2, and we expect around yung mga low to medium rise buildings, around 13% of that would sustain heavy damage. And yung medium to rise, low to medium rise buildings, yung public buildings natin would be around 12%, and then yung mga high rise buildings natin would be around 2% would sustain heavy damage.
Meron tayong figures kung ano yung ilan ng nasirang buildings, high-rises, tsaka ordinary residences.
For the BOGO or the Davao, kumukuha pa rin kami ng information ngayon. We have a team right now in Davao. They will do impact assessment. Titingnan nila ilan yung mga areas na nagkaroon mga geologic impacts. So, nandun na sila since yesterday. Actually, they were there since Monday. Hindi na in-anticipate yung lindol because nobody can predict when an earthquake would happen. They were there to do walk the fault. Meron tayong mga faults sa Davao City, and ang ginawa nila since Monday until yesterday, tinulungan nila yung mga barangay para i-pinpoint exactly kung saan yung fault. And then they're supposed to come back today, but nangyari yung paglindol kahapon. So, stay put muna sila and do impact assessment.
Merong picture dito sa Inquirer na isang bahay na partially na damage. Ilan lahat meron bang bumagsak na building? Wala, ano?
Parang wala pa akong nakita na totally bumagsak na building. May mga walls lang. In fact, may isang namatay, nadagana ng wall. May mga namatay din because of cardiac arrest. Pero so far, wala pa akong nakita and na yung totally collapsed na bahay.
Pero yung prediction ng JICA, 7 point, yung magkakos ng 30,000 casualties.
That's for the West Valley Fault. 33 casualties because the West Valley Fault transects highly populated areas. So maraming tao sa Metro Manila, 13 million. So most likely nga, and if that happens during rush hour, kasi yun naman yung assumption ng study na yan, it happens at 6 o'clock in the evening, pauwi na yung mga tao, tapos nagkaroon ng mag-7.2 event, yun yung expected casualties natin.
2 weeks ago po yung Cebu, tapos ngayon Davao, several years ago yung Bohol. Kapuna-puna na itong malalaking mga lindol na ito tumatama dun sa southern parts ng bansa. Ibig bang sabihin nito mas aktibo ang fault line sa gawing Visayas, Mindanao kumpara dito sa Luzon?
Hindi naman. If you can recall, there were also several events, magnitude 7 event in Abra. I think that was in 2022. So again, yung earthquakes naman are random events. It can happen anywhere in the Philippines kasi nga we have 180 active fault segments and lahat yan tad-tad ang Pilipinas except yung Palawan. Wala tayong active fault sa Palawan. So anywhere in the Philippines, pwede pong magkaroon ng malalaking paglindol. Hindi lang po yan concentrated sa Bohol, sa Visayas at saka sa Mindanao.
Kasi talaga napaka-esoteric ng usapin ng earthquake para sa karaniwang mamamayan. Paliwanag yung nakaraan, yung lindol, nagmumula dun sa energy na nabibuild up dun sa paggalaw ng mga plates ng mundo. So, ibig pong sabihin, pag hindi hindi nagkakaroon ng lindol, pero patuloy naman ang paggalaw ng plates, habang matagal yung inactivity o yung hindi pagkakaroon ng lindol, mas potential na lalakas yung movement.
Yes po, especially sa mga trenches natin kasi gumagalaw yung Philippine Sea Plate natin is being gumigit-git siya sa ilalim ng Philippine Trench. So parang nangyari yan ganito. Okay, so if this is the Philippine Sea Plate, this is the Philippine Archipelago, tapos sa dagat, this is the trench. So gumigit-git yan. This is the Philippine Sea Plate, gumigit-git siya. Tapos kapag walang motion for a long time kasi may friction, kapag bibigayan, malakas na. So this one, we call this overriding plate. This overriding plate, hahataw yan. So tatalsik. That's the reason why magkakaroon ng tsunami kasi yung tubig dito, tataas niya. So yung sa shore, magre-recede. Tapos pagbalik niyan, it will go back as tsunami.
So, bagaman na masama ang kahit anong lindol para sa ating mga karaniwang mamamayan, pero ito pala ay way of nature para ma-release ang tension at hindi ma-build up yung so much energy. Tama po ba?
Yes, mas maganda kung every now and then nagre-release siya ng energy para hindi makapag-ipon ng lakas.
Ang kaisipan ho ng tao, Director, parang pag mas mataas yung magnitude, mas mapaminsala. Doon sa Cebu at saka sa karanasan sa Cebu at itong Davao, ano pa po ba yung i-inform sa atin na yung in terms of damage, paano natin siya madidetermine?
Okay, so again, magnitude is just one factor. Yung depth din ng lindol, kung saan siya nagsimula. Like, say, for instance, sa Cebu, it's magnitude 6.9. And then sa Davao, it's magnitude 7.4. But kung titingnan natin, mas destructive yung nangyari sa Cebu kaysa Davao. Kasi yung sa Cebu, yung depth ng lindol natin is 5 kilometers, yung sa Davao is 23 kilometers. Now, yung seismic energy kasi natin as it travels from the source, sa ilalim ng lupa, akyat yan, habang umaakyat yan, humihina yung lakas. So if it's 23 kilometers, pagdating niya sa ibabaw, medyo hindi na siya ganun kalakas. Now, if it's 5 kilometers lamang yung tinakbo niya, pataas, mas malakas pa rin yung seismic energy pagdating sa ibabaw. Another factor would also be the type of soil. Kasi kapag matitigas yung bato, mas mabilis lang dumaan yung seismic energy natin. Kapag yung mga sedimentary layers natin, yung mga mahinang mga bato, yung yung lupa, yung sediments natin ay hindi matitigas, pwede kasing mag-linger ng mas matagal yung seismic energy doon. So hindi siya kaagad maka-transmit. It will stay longer. That's the reason why the shaking would be much longer as compared kapag matitigas yung mga bato natin.
Alam po naman natin na sa buong Pilipinas, hindi pare-pareho ang uri ng lupa. Merong, kagaya nung sa Pangasinan, yung malakas sa lindol, nagkaroon ng liquefaction. Pag Palawan, mas kilimindol dyan. Sabi nila, adobe yung lupa dyan. So, kayo ba'y may pag-aaral dyan? O natanong kayo ng mga, para man lang sa LGU, para kung gaano kataas ang gusali na dapat payagan? Kasi meron talagang may laro ang geography, ang nature, kung saan matibay ang lupa at kung saan mahina ang lupa. Yun po ba'y na-map na ninyo?
Yes, may mga mapa po tayo na produce sa opisina natin, yung probabilistic seismic hazard maps natin. And ito po yung binibigyan natin sa mga LGUs. Kung ano yung maging response in the event of an earthquake, ano yung maging response ng lupa sa lugar nila. So, site-specific po yan. Meron tayo sa Baguio, meron tayo sa Davao, meron tayo sa Cebu. Mga metropolis natin, meron po yan. And binibigay po natin yan sa mga LGUs. And yun yung po ginagamit, supposed to be, yun yung susundin ng mga engineers when they construct yung mga high-rise buildings.
Ano po lugar sa Pilipinas at pinakang-safe sa earthquake?
I would say Palawan kasi wala naman tayong active fault sa Palawan. But it doesn't mean na it's safe from ground shaking kasi last year, June of last year, meron tayong magnitude 5.1 sa dagat naman ng Palawan sa eastern side. And naramdaman ito sa Rojas and in other parts of Palawan. So it doesn't mean na safe na siya from ground shaking. It doesn't mean that safe na siya from earthquake kasi meron pa rin ground shaking na maramdaman sa Palawan. Kasi nanggaling yung faults dito sa dagat east of Palawan and sa north din ng Palawan, sa may Coron area. Pero wala lang tayong active fault sa Palawan. So it's safe from the ground rupture yung nabibiyak yung lupa.
Pero meron ng study ng stratification ng lupa sa Pilipinas, ano?
Yes, meron naman tayo.
Ano naging effect ng study na ito?
Well, again, yung offshoot ng study na yan, again, may yung Mines and Geosciences Bureau, meron silang kumpletong kung ano yung klaseng bato meron ng Pilipinas. And yan, ginagamit natin yan for this, yun na nga, yung probabilistic seismic hazard modeling. So yung input yan sa modeling na ginagawa natin, and yung na-produce dyan would be the maps which binibigay natin sa ating mga LGUs.
Pero ito rin nagpapakita na mga valuable minerals kung nasan.
Yes, at the same time, kasi yun naman yung ng Mines and Geosciences Bureau, minamapa nila yung mga resources natin, at the same time yung mga klaseng bato.
Nagkaroon ng doublet earthquake sa Davao Oriental.
Okay, they usually occur when when a fault or our earthquake generator is quite complicated, causing a trigger of sequence of earthquake events. So yun po it's very common along for the Philippine places. As I mentioned, we've had the same events in the past. So okay, so pwede kasi nag-trigger yung, again, parang it's the same concept with the stress transfer. So one event would cause another, one event would release a stress and then it would absorb by the next, generator. Although at this case, isang generator lang sila, which is the Philippine Trench. Kasi yung normally yung stress transfer natin would be from different faults, closely spaced, very close to each other. And then when that fault would release a stress during an earthquake, it will be absorbed by a nearby fault. But in this case, it's the same earthquake generator, yung nag-absorb nung stress in another part of the generator natin. So yung isa, 23 kilometers, yung mag 7.4, yung isa naman is 37 kilometers.
Sir, clarify
Yung
ko
depth.
lang. Yung 7.4 nag-trigger dun sa 6 point.
Yes, that's right, that's right.
Yung doublet, can we say na rare siya? And at the same time, possible kaya na mas malaki pa or maging parang trigger din to para sa mas malaking earthquake?
Okay, so if this is rare, I would say na yes, I would say that it's rare because it happened only as far as I can recall, it happened only in 1992 and then 2023. So, but if it will trigger another event higher, the probability is very small. Kasi kung mag-trigger pa siya ng mas malaking event, say for instance, magnitude 7.5 or 7.6, yung mga nangyaring events natin would become foreshocks and then you have the main shock. But again, the determination of a foreshock is always on the hindsight. Kaya pala, masasabi natin, kaya pala nagkaroon ng mga series of magnitude 7 events before kasi magkakaroon pala ng malaking paglindol. So it's always on the hindsight. Nangyari yan sa Japan during the yung March 11, 2011 event. Nagkaroon ng tsunami. So there were a series of magnitude 6 earthquakes days prior. And then nagkaroon ng magnitude 9. So but again, the probability of this happening is very small.
Sir, ako po si JC from TV5. Sir, yun pong meron din daw lindol sa Isabela kaninang madaling araw?
Yes,
Apo?
yes, may lindol sa Isabela, but nasa magnitude for something lang. I'll check exactly kung ilan yun. Hindi naman siya as devastating as the one that we had in Cebu and in Davao.
Tapos sir, yun po bang lindol sa Davao, Cebu, Isabela, are these connected?
No, hindi po sila connected. Magkakaiba pong fault segments, yung gumalaw. Sa Cebu, it's the Bogo Bay Fault, and then sa Davao, it's the Philippine Trench. And then yung, meron din tayong lindol sa Baguio, Philippine Fault naman yung source nun.
Okay. Tapos sir, this was sa interview ko pa last year sa inyo. Tama po, no? Yung possibility ng the big one is hinug na kasi yung West Valley Fault na huling gumalaw noong 1658. Tama po ba?
Yes, that's right.
Alright. Tapos yung binabanggit nyo kanina na 30,000+ na casualties, saan na yun, no? Sa Metro Manila and nearby provinces in Calabarzon and Central Luzon?
If you add, yung 33,000 would only be in Metro Manila. If you add the nearby provinces, that would go as high as 48,000.
Tapos, amid the possibility of the big one, dapat po ba mas dalasan ng mga government agencies at ng private sector yung pagkukonduct ng mga earthquake drills? Kasi di ba dapat parang ginagawa lang siya pag may mga shake drill, yung MMDA, etc.
Ginagawa naman natin yan regularly, yung earthquake drill. We do that every quarter. Siguro ang kailangan nating mas paigtingin din yung pag-check ng yung earthquake, yung integrity ng mga buildings natin if they can withstand a magnitude 7.2 event. Kasi kahit ma-perfect natin yung earthquake drill, pag cover and hold tayo, kung yung bahay naman natin magkukollapse, babagsak. So hindi pa rin siya effective. Yung earthquake drill kasi natin is on the assumption na yung bahay natin are earthquake resilient. So this will only protect us from falling debris, yung mga aparador na hindi naka-fix sa walls, that would protect us, yung duct cover and hold, that would protect us from those. But pagka sira ng bahay, dapat earthquake resilient.
Follow up ko lang yung tanong ng kaibigan natin. Yung lindol sa Isabela, 4.1. Ang tanong ko po sa inyo, kasi ang tanong niya nagmula sa doublet. Yung bang 4.1 na magnitude, sapat na para mag-trigger ng doublet? Balik ta rin ko tanong, gaano kalakas ang isang lindol para makapag-trigger ng doublet?
Okay, so yung doublet naman kasi dapat hindi masyadong nalalayo dun sa original na lakas. In fact, we also had a doublet before sa Bicol naman. This was last year. We have a magnitude 5.3 and then yung sumunod is 4.9. So this is in Bicol, but it's not on the Philippine Trench. It's another earthquake generator. The shaking is so strong na it was felt as far as Cebu. Ganon din yung nangyari sa 6.9 event in Cebu. It was felt as far as Davao.
Sir, but is it possible for it to trigger any other shaking even if it's not along the same trench or same fault line?
No, it will not. Again, the stress transfer that I mentioned about, that I mentioned earlier would only be for faults that are very close to each other. Again, nangyari ito noong October 2019. Sa Cotabato, we have in a series of 1 month, we have in 1 month we have a series of magnitude 6 and above earthquakes. I think 6.2, 6.4 in a span of 1 month, coming from very closely spaced faults.
Sir, I read po that a doublet could possibly happen as well here in Metro Manila during the so-called the big one. Sir, because there's another parang fault further, opo. So could we expound on this further, sir?
Hindi po mangyayari po yan sa Metro Manila, yung doublet. I don't think, ang mangyayari, we have earthquake generator, which is the West Valley Fault. It can generate a magnitude 7.2. And then we have the Manila Trench, which is capable of generating a magnitude 8.3. So baka yun yung sinasabi natin. But it's not a doublet kasi the same lang po yung, it should be on the same generator. Closely spaced, dapat magkalapit and magkasunod yung time, halos magkasunod, and then magkalapit lang.
So sir, hindi po malapit yung trench doon po sa West Valley Fault?
Yes, malayo po yun.
Gaano malayo po yung malayo?
Well, yung Manila Trench natin is nasa West Philippine Sea. Yung West Valley Fault natin is nasa Bulacan all the way to Cavite. So, ano yung bang distance ng Manila Trench? That's probably more than 100 kilometers. I'm not sure, I'll check, but masyadong pumalayo yung doublet kasi most likely on the same area lang, on the same earthquake generator. Yung origin, we call that focus. Mas mababaw siya, it's 5 kilometers. So it only travels 5 kilometers and hindi pa pagdating sa ibabaw, mas malakas pa rin siya kasi 5 kilometers lang yung travel niya. Another thing also is that the fault transects communities. So may online extension tayo of this Bogo Bay fault and dumaan sa mga bahay-bahay. So yun yung one of the reasons kung bakit devastating ito. As compared doon sa yung nangyari sa Philippine Trench, which is 48 kilometers away from Manay and nasa dagat. Mas mababaw yung sa Cebu. Yung origin ng earthquake.